It's one of the fastest fish in the ocean, and if you're lucky enough to hook one, you're in for a great fight and an even better show. You can catch them on the troll or with a kite. Tonight's bite is all about sailfish. This is the Florida Insider Fishing Report.
Welcome to the Florida Insider Fishing Report, powered by Harbor Trucks and presented by Yamaha.
Hi everyone, we are back in action here on the Florida Insider Fishing Report, ready to get this season started. I'm Brie Gabrielle with my trusty co-pilot, Captain Rick Murphy, and we are so excited to be back in our new and improved studio and put all of you back on the fish, right Rick?
You're absolutely right, Brie, and you know I'm really excited about talking about sailfish tonight. My first sailfish I ever caught right here off of Miami, 14 years old, caught it on the troll while dolphin fishing, took it out of the outriggers, dead ballyhoo trolling, and you know, that's what we primarily do here in the state of Florida, as well as kite fishing on the East Coast is tremendously popular, and I know our man Dave is going to really be talking about that tonight.
Yes, he does. I've missed you, Dave, at the CCA Workbench. How's your off-season?
I've been missing you too,
oh,
for sure.
Thanks.
You know, we are talking about dead bait sail fishing tonight, and there's just a great way to do it, and everybody does it here, and we're going to try to catch them with dead baits.
Perfect. Well, we can't wait for that. And before we get to chatting with our friends from Harbor Trucks in Casa Vieja, you know, Rick, we already talked about the star of the show, Sailfish. One of my favorite sailfishing trips was with you on the Contender right outside of Miami. Our first ever Sports and Adventures together. That was amazing. And my first Atlantic sailfish.
Absolutely.
It was a baby one.
You caught a couple that day. One of them was really small, but fully developed, which we really thought was neat.
Pretty much the coolest thing I've ever done. All right, Floridians, let's kick this season off with our first captain, Jimbo Thomas, in the Casa Vieja Southeast region, where the sailfish bite is always on point. Take it away, Jimbo.
That's right. Hello, Rick, Bree, and Dave. And also want to give a shout out to Dave and Kristen Salazar from Casa Vieja Lodge in the studio. And it's great to be back talking about catching fish. So let's talk about some sailfish. Now, we do have some of the best sail fishing in the world right here in the Southeast region. Now, we do catch sails throughout the year, but December through May, those are the peak months. And one of the keys to catching sails is to find good conditions, which are blue water and north currents. And when we're looking for the sails, we also like to network with other fishermen up and down the coast to find out where those water conditions are the best. And they do change every day, so it could be great one day and totally the opposite the next day. Now, one of the most effective ways to target sails is with live herrings, goggle eyes, sardines, and pilchards, and you want to fish them under a kite in 80 to 250 feet of water. And then if there isn't enough wind for that kite, you can slow troll or drift those live baits. That'll get you some bites. Now, 20-pound tackle with 10 to 15 feet of 40 to 60-pound mono or fluorocarbon leader and a 6.0 to 7.0 circle hook, that is our standard sailfish setup. Now, we do catch some sails on the troll, but the live baiting definitely will outfish the trollers, at least down in the Southeast region. Now, lately the sailfish bite has been good on the days when the current is in close, and then on the slow or no current days, the bite has been fair in the 100 to 200 foot range. And it seems like it's been a little bit better up towards the north end of the region, at least in the last couple days. Now, one of the big issues lately has been there's been huge amounts of seaweed coming through, and it's made it really tough to fish for those sails in some areas. Now, I got a photo here. This is a Miami sailfish caught by Suzanne Malinzik from Charleston, South Carolina, aboard the Thomas Flyer about 2 weeks ago, roughly. Now, staying offshore, the kingfish bite has picked up in the last week throughout the region, but the Hillsborough Reef inlet area has definitely been the best for these kings. They're being caught on the troll and on live baits, and the troll's been producing more fish than the live baits, but the size isn't as good. Now, on the troll, you want to fish with a pink sea witch and a 4 to 6 inch bonita strip, and you pull it behind a number 2 or number 3 planer, or you can use a 3.5 thrown spoon behind that planer or on a wire line outfit. But fishing the live baits and the herrings under the kites, well, pilchards and herrings under the kite, that has been producing the larger fish. And the best depths have been anywhere from 80 to 130 feet of water. with the best bite being early in the morning or late into the afternoon. Now moving on inshore, there's been tarpon around the bridges and dock lights at night, and also in around the inlets. Around the bridges, look for those tarpon feeding around the shadow lines on the outgoing tide. And if you can find a color change or a rip, that's where the bait's going to be coming through. That's where those tarpon are going to be feeding. You want to drift your live crabs and live baits right on those current edges. If you're fishing in the inlets and off the beaches, live crabs and live shrimp have been the best baits. And if the water's real clear, which it has been the last few days, you want to scale down your leaders to lighter leaders and smaller hooks. Now, almost all of this tarpon fishing around the bridges and the inlets is taking place in the evenings, but during the daytime, some of these same tarpon can be found in the bays and also in the intercoastal waterway in some of the deeper holes, and they are eating live crabs and live baits as well as swimming plugs and even flies in the daytime. Now, not going too far from those tarpon, there's been some good snook fishing going on in the inlets and also those same lit bridges and docks of the intercoastal waterway. Most of the bites are going to be on live baits. You want to fish herrings, pinfish, or whatever bait is the most abundant in your area. Drift those live baits along the jetties and along the ledges of the inlets using a Jupiter rig. And the best fishing is going to be in the evenings and preferably on the outgoing tide. If there's no live bait on board, try bouncing flare hawk jigs along the bottom, or you control big Rapala magnums. And I like a red head and a white body, but all different colors will work. And around the bridges and those lit docks, drift your live baits or work artificials through the shadow lines on the outgoing tide.
Thank you, Jimbo, so much for the Casa Vieja Southeast Region report. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the R&R tackle hotspots. Jimbo says inshore, big tarpon are eating live crabs and shrimp drifted through the inlets in the evening. And then offshore, fish live baits in 100 to 300 feet of water has been producing a mixed bag of sailfish, kingfish, mahi, blackfin tunas throughout the region.
Pick a fish, any fish. All right, let's break out the FaceTime in the Strike Zone Northeast Region remote location studio. Captain Tommy Derringer, what's going on?
Hey guys, what's up, man? I'm so stoked that we're back. You know, a lot has happened in the off season here in the Strike Zone Northeast Region. And of course, there was a lot of fish caught. And I can tell you, man, we are so ready for some spring and summertime fishing and weather. We can hardly stand it. Now, we have had some kind of funky weather here lately, which has made it a little tough to get offshore. But you know what? I have a feeling there's some warmer weather and some sailfish heading our way. So we get a pretty good push of sailfish coming from the south this time of year as the water warms up. And I spoke to several of our offshore captains this week, and they tell me the key to finding those sailfish is going to be finding the clearer blue water. Now, you can start in the 21 fathom depths and work your way out to the Gulf Stream and even beyond that. Look for current edges, color changes, as well as some flying fish. Those are all good things. One thing I've always heard from the offshore guys, a good little tip, is the better or more natural that your ballyhoo swims while you're in control, it's going to make a big difference in getting our sailfish to bite. Probably any sailfish to bite. As it heats up heading into summer, the sailfish push in a little closer here near shore along the reefs and wrecks. Every year there's a few good ones caught right at 9 Mile Reef out of St. Augustine. Now, every once in a while, you can even find them in as close as a mile or two of the beach when the bait gets really thick. I even caught one in a pokey pod a few years back, pretty much right there on the beach. Now, staying offshore, you know, this is the time of year that everyone gets that cobia fever. Now, it's still a little early for the beach fish on the rays, but the offshore cobia, they're around right now in good numbers. I spoke to Captain Billy Hunsicker from EndlessSummerCharters.com, and he tells me he's been getting an easy limit of cobia on the wrecks out of St. Augustine in about 100 foot of water. Captain Billy said they've been catching a few on jigs, but most of those bigger cobia, they're coming off live grunts or pinfish. Now look for the wrecks with some high relief structure, and that's where you're gonna find some cobia hanging out. And I've got a picture here. This is the offshore outlaw himself, Captain Bo Hall, along with Jonathan Moran with a big old cove that they caught out of Mayport. Now, Captain Bo reports good numbers of cobia in Jacksonville, out of Jacksonville in those 90 to 100 foot depths as well. Now, moving inshore, you know, I gotta start the year off with my favorite fish, of course, the redfish. Now, we have a great redfish tide this week throughout the region. That early morning high tide is going to be a great time to dust off your topwater plugs and get to walking the dog. Now, my clients have been doing well with the Rapala skitterwalk and the trout and redfish patterns. We're fishing grass lines up on the flats and the bigger shell bars right along the intercoastal waterway. If topwater isn't your thing, the late afternoon low tide has been producing some good numbers of redfish as well. I spoke to Captain Buzz Brannon from NortheastFloridaAngling.com, and he tells me the Hannah Mills area in Jacksonville has redfish schooled up in the deeper creek holes an hour or two on either side of low tide. Now, redfish are also schooled up on the edges and in the drains of the flats right along the ICW north of the Volano Bridge in St. Augustine. The lower the tide gets, the more grouped up the fish have been. A mud minnow, live shrimp, or a mullet have all been working well, and a saltwater assassin elite shiner in that golden brim and Houdini colors have been working as well. Most of those fish have been in the mid slot with a few bigger fish in the mix. And speaking of bigger fish, I've got another photo here. This is Braden Babb with his first ever redfish. He caught this monster redfish in about a foot of water with me and his granddad Mike last week. Way to go, Braden. That was a stud of a redfish, awesome. Especially for your first one. Now, also inshore, over the next couple of months, we'll have some of the best trout fishing our region has to offer. Springtime is typically when my clients catch some really big gator trout, and tossing a topwater plug for those big trout can be about as fun as it gets. Now, this weekend, we have that early morning high tide I talked about before, and that's a great time to bust out the skitterwalks for the trout as well. I find most of the big trout are found up shallower in areas like Chickapit, Pine Island, Pellicer Creek, Tomoka Basin, basically large flats with lots of oyster bars. Look for concentrations of mullet or other bait fish, and that's where you're gonna find those big trout hanging out. There's also quite a few smaller trout along the edge of the ICW and some of the smaller creek runouts throughout the region on the falling tide. Live shrimp under a cork or a saltwater assassin Lil Boss paddle tail on a 1/4 ounce jig head have been the go-to rigs. I've got one last picture here. My good buddy, Captain Cullen Traverso, guided Erica Bedita to this huge gator trout she caught last week on that saltwater assassin Lil Boss paddle tail. This trout was over 8 pounds, and that was Erica's biggest trout to date.
That is quite the trout.
She needs to just quit trout fishing, Tommy, after that, dude.
That's it, man. I don't know. It's hard to do better than that.
Hey, thank you. Great report from the Strike Zone Northeast region. We're going to go ahead and take a look at your hot spots, Bubba. He says inshore redfish in the creeks north of St. Augustine to Palm Valley on the last of the outgoing tide. Jig mud minnows and shrimp on deeper bends of the creeks. And then offshore, go cobia fishing in a 90 to 100 foot depths throughout the entire region. Fish over higher relief structures with live grunts for those coves.
For the looks from that photo, you need to go cobia fishing, guys. Come on, you gotta get out there. Coming up on the Florida, coming up on the Florida Insider Fishing Report, we're dropping our lines into the East region. But first, let's see what Dave Ferrell has for us at the CCA Workbench for rigs and techniques.
Ballyhoo 4-way is what we're having. Little four-course ballyhoo dinner.
Perfect.
Whoa.
Looks yummy, smells even better.
I'm gonna show you how to do them.
Boy, it smells in here.
We'll be back, guys.
They're fresh. Yeah.
The Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Harbor Trucks. Visit harbortrucks.com. Yamaha. Reliability starts here. Contender Boats. Always in the game. Sirius XM Marine. Weather, fishing info, and channel surfing. And Daiquiri Deck. Sarasota's favorite place to meet.
Hello, Harbor Truck fans. Lee Titchworth, Fleet and Commercial Manager here at Harbor Trucks with Chris Freeland, owner of Harbor Trucks, and Fred Toon, owner of Howard's Pool World. Fred, why do you buy your trucks from us?
Well, it's the people, the product, and the processes. The 5-year, 100,000-mile warranty is just icing on the cake. I strongly suggest Harbor Trucks.
Harbor Trucks, the place to buy your next truck.
Meet the water's lightest 25 horsepower 4-stroke, the all-new Yamaha F25, the new standard and 25 horsepower portable 4-strokes. At just 126 pounds, it's got the best power-to-weight ratio of any 25 horsepower 4-stroke on the water. With performance that bests the previous Yamaha F25 and features like Yamaha's VTS for precise trolling speeds, batteryless EFI, built-in resting pads, and carry handles, it's the perfect portable power for small boats.
As close as you're gonna get to a sure thing for catching billfish is Guatemala.
They're here, man. This has been a 20-year run, buddy. These things haven't left. There's no cycle.
When it comes to sailfish, and this is the real deal.
The amount of sailfish here is ridiculous.
Well, we're here at the Academy Sports and Outdoors Rigs and Techniques
Yes, sir.
at the CCA Workbench. Dave and Dad Ballyhoo rigging.
Yeah, well, we're talking about sailfish. You know, they're, like you said, they're one of the most popular fish to catch in Florida. And, you know, there's several different ways to do it. You're either live baiting from Key West all the way up to around North Miami, West Palm a little bit. And from West Palm on up on the East Coast, you're usually trolling dead baits. And when you travel around the world to catch sailfish, you're usually trolling dead baits.
Right.
It's hard to keep live baits alive and take care of them and all that stuff. And dead baits are a lot easier. But they've gone through quite a transformation from the very first time when we started using circle hooks to now. And we first started off, we were using a thing called an X on the head, which was a floss rig. This is actually a second version. The first version was made by Ron Hamlin in Guatemala, where they had a big tie up on the top of the head and an actual hook set up on a little knot. It was very complicated. But this one's a lot easier. It's pretty much just a ring of floss that goes around the collar of a bait, and then you put it all together and tie it
Go
up.
through his eyes.
Correct.
And tie it. And blah, blah,
Correct.
blah, blah,
Make sure he swims real good. And whenever you're doing any of these baits, there's certain things that no matter what kind of bait we're using, and we got 4 different ones here, they all have to have the same kind of things. You want to make sure that the eyeballs are out to keep the eyeballs from blowing up on you later on and coming out of the side of the head and making the bait swim weird. You want to take the pec fins off. You want to make sure you clean all the poop out of the inside and make sure the belly's nice and flat and empty, so it's not, that one's not been done yet. So, but anyway, you want your bellies clean so the baits last longer, but all those things have to be done. And when you start doing them, you always want to make sure that you start in the center of the head. You can't be off a little bit to one side or the other. If you are, the bait's not going to swim right. You want to make sure that you're right down.
Dead in the middle.
Dead in the middle on the center line. A good way to do that is to use a rigging needle. You can use a rigging needle to help you out. It's a little easier to control than just a little piece of wire or something. And you can make a pilot hole, which is what I always like to do. I always like to get my needle out and poke a nice hole in him before I put the wire through, because it's a good guide. Now, the next iteration of after we did that the floss version, they went to a swivel, and a lot of the guys are still using this today as far for tournaments. This is a great big swivel. I did it so you could see it a lot easier. But they have an actual barrel swivel with one half of the barrel swivel buried in the head of the ballyhoo and the other end sticking out, and that's where your hook will go when it's on a leader.
Right.
And again, that's a big swivel. The swivel that you're going to use is going to be a little smaller, so that when that hook goes through, it just barely goes through, so it doesn't come out easy. So after we finished with that, well, actually, I wanted to explain one thing. When you're using this swivel, the trickiest part of the swivel, after is the very beginning, is right when you put that swivel down through the crease in his mouth there. You have to be really careful when you're popping that first swivel in that you don't break his jaw, because you have to, and the best thing to do is to just get your hand right up here and use your thumb and pull it down. You pull it down and it'll pop that swivel through.
Okay.
But after that swivel deal, we came to start using an O-ring, which is, you're still using the 14-inch piece of copper wire, which again, 14 inches is that's the wrong one. 14 inches are perfect for this kind of rigging. You'll have just enough to go through his eyeballs a couple times and wrap down his bill. But that little O-ring right there is really easy. You don't have to worry about popping that swivel through and crushing your bait, and it still allows you a great room of movement for that circle hook. And now a fella up in Maryland came up with this idea to make these ringer swivels. And what it is, it's that swivel with the O-ring on one end. And now, because it's got that, it's got that little O-ring on the end and the swivel too, you have a huge amount of movement, and you can change the hooks real easy. You can put all your baits in the thing and have all your leaders ready with a circle hook snelled on them.
Yeah.
You know, you have 80-pound leaders, you know, about 5 foot long, that'll go on to the end of your wind on, and you can have all your baits lined up beautiful in there. And when you need a bait, you just pull it out and stick it through that O-ring, and boom, you're ready to go.
So at Casa Vieja, they use a VMC 7385 in a 7.0. You like a 7.0 here?
Yes, 7.0 is plenty big enough and strong enough to hold any sailfish that you're going to run across.
Dude,
even blue marlins, actually.
I feel like we didn't have enough time.
You could go on and on and on.
Yeah, great job.
You could go
All right,
on.
Bree, speaking of going on and on and on, we got to go.
Got to go on and on. All right, now we're sailing into the Fish Bites East region, seeing what Mike Holliday has to say about the fish bite. Welcome back, Mike.
Hey, it's good to be back, Bree. And Dave, I kind of like the 5.0 VMC tournament circle. Oh. That's the one that's really been working for me in sales for us. So the bulk of the sailfish population, it's pushed to the southern end of Palm Beach County and all the way down into Jimbo's region as well. But there's still some good concentrations of fish throughout the East region. The key is to find the color change in anywhere from 100 to 180 feet of water. Look for where that water goes from like a powder blue to a deep blue. The fish tend to be on one side of that color change. Often it's the powder blue side, surprisingly. And a lot of the bites are coming right now in multiples. So try to keep your baits in the water after you hook a fish so you can turn that single bite into a double, a triple, or a quad. And for bait, you can certainly catch them on troll ballyhoo, particularly if you put a blue and white or pink skirt ahead of that. But most of the boats are live baiting with pilchards or thread fins or blue runners or even goggle eyes. There's been a lot of goggle eyes around lately. There's been a bunch at the sand pile off Stewart and then off the Juneau Pier. So if you get an early start in the morning to go catch live bait right before it gets light, you can catch some of those goggle eyes. You can slow troll them, you can drift, you can fly a kite and bump troll. Average sailfish right now is going to be between 30 and 40 pounds. I got a photo there. That's Captain Scott Fawcett of Off the Chain Charters in Stewart. He took that photo of a sailfish that one of his anglers caught. They caught it in 110 feet of water, straight off Jensen Beach, and that fish ate a trolled ballyhoo. The other thing, it's the early season for kingfish right now, and the kingfish bite has been fantastic for a couple of weeks. I really expect it to be a banner April and May for kingfish in my region. There's a school of fish in 65 to 80 feet of water along the offshore bar, that's south of Fort Pierce, but the main body of fish is between Hope Sound and Juneau Beach, depending on what, the water color and the bait that's in the area. Spanish sardines have not showed up yet, so most anglers are using pilchard, thread fins, goggle eyes, or blue runners, although you can always, fall back on a double hook mullet or double hook or a rigged ribbon fish. Troll that behind the boat. If the wind goes west, look for the kings to move into the beach. They'll sit in the kingfish hole, and a live mullet on a stinger rig is pretty much money on those big smokers in there this time of the year.
All right, let's go inshore, bub.
Well, you have to go all the way to the north end of the East region, but from the St. Lucie Power Plant all the way up to the moorings flat in Vero Beach, the springtime trout bite is on fire in the Indian River. On the higher tides, the docks along the western shore of the Indian River from Midway Road all the way up to the old fort, that's holding a lot of fish and a lot of school fish and a few big fish. But the big fish are really coming on the lower tides when they're hunting the potholes around the Spoil Islands from Harbor Branch on up to Torquay Road. You want to get an early start for topwater plugs or, like a saltwater assassin, 6-inch shad and drunk monkey or Calcasieu brew or panhandle moon colors. And then around the Spoil Islands, live shrimp under a saltwater assassin rattlecork or a panhandle moon colored dye napper are pretty much the way to go. The lure bite seems to be over by about 9:30. If it's cloudy, it'll go later. But the live bait bite will go on all day. Average sea trout's 2 to 3 pounds, but a good number of fish to 10 pounds being caught. I got a photo of one, Tom Vogelsong. He caught that 30-inch gator trout. He caught it on live thread fin. He was fishing with Jason Arman of That's Our Man Land-Based Fishing Charters, and they were waiting in the Indian River. So that's going on. The other thing is we're starting to see a push of mullet inshore. That's got the topwater bite for snook picking up along the seawalls in the Indian River, the St. Lucie River, the Loxahatchee River, the Ermine River, and also around the mouth of Taylor Creek up in Fort Pierce. You can also throw live mullet, bunker, or pilchards around the deeper docks of those rivers and pick through the smaller fish until you get to the slot fish on the windy nights, or Pierce Inlet producing fish on swimming plugs or on a shrimp and jig combination. That's during the last of the outcoming, the first of the incoming tide. There's also some good fish on the lighted docks of the Intercoastal Waterway north of Hope Sound, and also on the lighted docks in the Loxahatchee River. It seems like on those docks, live shrimp, or if you fly fish, small flies are the best way to go. So the snook bites turn into springtime. It's lighten up, guys.
Mike, it's been 6 months since I've had a bass report, so why don't you give me one?
Yeah, you know what? Whether you're looking for big numbers of fish or not just one big bass, Lake Okeechobee is still the hottest bass fishery in Florida. I was talking to Captain Mike Schellen of OkeechobeeBassFishing.com. He's telling me that the low water levels on the lake right now have pushed the bass out of the shallow areas of the marsh and out into the deeper waters along the outside grass lines. That's a real key. Target the outside grass lines. That makes it more accessible to anglers, easier to get to. At first light, some of the guys are working topwater plugs or white spinner baits, and they're getting a school bass in the boat trails around Observation Shoal. And then as the sun gets up, you can switch over to a Bass Assassin Boss Shiner, working around the Kissimmee grass for the school fish. If you're looking for a big trophy for a photo, work the outside buggy whips on the North Shore with a Hillbilly Special or Junebug colored skunk ape or punch craw. There's still a lot of 6 to 10 pound fish coming on live shiners, but the lure action's been consistent all day. Average bass 1 to 3 pounds, but a lot of 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, even 10 pound bass being caught on Okeechobee right now. So it's still the standard for excellent bass fishing in Florida.
All right, thank you, Mike. Great report from the Fish Bites East region. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the TH Marine hotspots. Mike says inshore, topwater plugs for snook at the mouth of Taylor Creek. Be on the water at dawn. The bite is going to be over by 8 a.m. And then offshore, kingfish, sailfish, dolphin in 110 to 160 feet of water off of Juneau Pier. Use live pilchards, thread fins, or maybe even a small blue runner for that plethora of offshore action.
Plethora, I love it. Bring the word back. You know, the gator trout are like taking over the show.
Yeah, man.
All those photos, go Gators. All right, maybe not. Let's talk a little bit about CCA Star, Rick. Make sure to register for CCA Florida Star presented by Yamaha and make your offshore fishing more rewarding this summer. In the Tigris Outriggers Dolphin division, you can win a Yamaha 150 and roof mount outriggers. And in the Cannon Kingfish division, you can win Cannon downriggers and a Saltmarsh Savannah skiff. Both divisions pay out to the 6th place, and you may even catch one of the Star Tag Dolphin and win some cash. That wouldn't be bad, would it?
Nope.
Nope, it's always good.
Cash with a splash.
Cash is king. All right, anglers, we're on a roll here, and coming up next, we're taking you into the Keys and Northwest regions, in addition to our special guest rolling in from Harbor Trucks. So stay hooked, and we'll be right back.
The Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Power Pole, Swift, Silent, Secure, Bass Assassin, and Saltwater Assassin. The best lures, period. Blue Water Outriggers, everything for your outdoor adventure. Garmin, join the club. Kubota, find a Kubota dealer near you at gokubota.com. And Casa Vieja Lodge, 5-star angling in beautiful Guatemala.
I'm Captain Rick Murphy, and I'm a life member of CCA. Why am I so involved with CCA, you ask? Because I want our fisheries to be in better shape for my kids and their kids. CCA is working to ensure the future of recreational fisheries and the rights of recreational anglers. The future of fishing starts today with you. How do you want to leave things with your kids? If you're like me, you'll want to make the right choice and go to joinccaflorida.com right now.
Harbor Trucks has the largest selection of new and used car and truck inventory in Southwest Florida. Our used vehicle inventory goes through a 120-point inspection process performed by certified technicians. Exclusive to Florida Insider Fishing Report viewers is our Peace of Mind Harbor Truck Warranty. If you don't see what you're looking for, give us a call and we can get it for you. Go to harbortrucks.com and click on the Florida Insider Fishing Report tab.
Real Legends Performance Clothing. Everything you need to be comfortable on the water all day long. Keeps you cool, dry, and protected from the sun. Durable performance technology at an unbeatable value. Shop anytime or go to reallegends.com to find a Bell store near you.
I'm 1,000 miles from nowhere, and there's no place I'd rather be. I'm 1,000 miles from nowhere, and time don't matter to me, 'cause I'm 1,000 miles from nowhere.
Well, welcome back, and as you can see, I have my friend Chris Freeland, owner of Harbor Trucks and Harbor Nissan. You know, Chris, I was over there a few weeks ago, and I was amazed at the monster inventory of trucks you have, on both sides of the street. So why don't we talk a little bit about that?
Well, you know what happened last year after the fishing show? Our sales increased dramatically in the new car side and the used car side. So that meant we need to stock up for this year. So we did a great job of buying vehicles and stocking up on new and pre-owned, and also we have a secret to talk a little bit later about.
All right, so let's talk a little bit about what we have or what you can expect in inventory over there. We've got commercial vehicles.
Oh, yes.
And we also have lots of Nissan Titans. So one of the things that comes to mind is the certified pre-owned trucks. You have a whole lot.
It's like another division we have, because that's not a new car. It's technically a used vehicle, but it's just like a new vehicle. Unless your neighbors will never know you bought a pre-owned vehicle unless you tell them.
So, Chris, why would somebody want to buy a pre-owned vehicle instead of new, or maybe instead of used? It's a middle category, so why would they want to consider that? Well, the factory gets
involved, and they have us go through a rigorous 160-point safety inspection, not just safety, but also cosmetic. So they want the vehicle to look like it's brand new, to go through as far as the trim interior, the tires, the wheels, the brakes. We've drained and replaced all the fluids, so everything's brand new, and they give it a 7-year, 100,000-mile warranty to go with it.
So it's not just trucks, but we also have cars, correct?
SUVs, lots of tow vehicles, cars. Yes, we do.
All right, so in this 160-point check, what do we do in that? I mean, let's get into the nuts and bolts. Why it is what it has to happen is the mechanic have to be qualified?
Oh yeah, they have to be certified by Nissan as well to be a technician that can do that work, and they have to go through if it's a replacement, not just check. So they replace transmission fluids, coolant fluids, motor oil fluids, obviously the windshield wiper fluids, but everything else is inspected to a degree, like brake pads, things of that sort. Micro filters for your breathing inside have to meet a standard as well, or that gets replaced also.
And so if it passes the inspection, then what happens to the warranty?
It increases to 100,000 miles.
Awesome. So I know there's going to be a lot of people that have questions about what's going on there. So where do they go to find out more information?
They would go to harbortrucks.com or harbornissan.com. Either one would get you there.
Thank you so much. And we're looking forward to working with you for the next 6 months.
We're ready.
All right, Bree, we got to go someplace else.
Yes, we do. That sounds like some exciting stuff. All right, let's say hi to Randy Town, the Garmin Keys region, where the sailfish are biting or they're not. So let's get some more info on that, Randy.
Hey, good evening, fish fans. You know, here in the Garmin Keys region, we're not really sailfish conditions right now, although it can change. Our weather every week is something different. It seems like we get a calm period, then we get some wind. But, you know, this time of year, the springtime, we're really counting on the tailing condition, the color change, and it formed and then it disappears, and it forms and it disappears, and it's really something that can form from Islamorada to Key West. And right now, it's not really out there, although the water on the edge of the reef from Islamorada to Key West is beautiful blue, just a gorgeous blue color to it with a little bit of current, but the condition for the tailing sailfish just isn't there. There's a few fish being caught by guys flying the kites, and right now you need some helium because our wind's been down, or a lot of guys slow troll ballyhoos, and that's very effective as well, especially if they're showering bait on the edge of the reef, which we have a lot of in the Keys. A lot of our sailfish will be caught in 20 or 30 feet of water, and you'll see the sailfish pushing big schools of ballyhoo, and a lot of times you can run in there, and if you've got a a tuna tower or something elevated up off the water a little bit, you can actually see these fish and sight cast to them. And that's another way that we really fish down here in the Keys for sailfish. You know, that color change is traditionally in the April time frame. And as we get these fronts, you know, and the wind blows out of the northeast at 20, those are the days that the guys are going fishing and they're looking for this condition. So for all of these different things that happen, a calm condition, windy condition, it has a purpose. And a lot of the guys are waiting for things to line up. And, you know, we might get them, we might not. It's hard to say, but there's still a few sailfish up and down the reef, kind of local fish that guys are catching. So they're not totally gone, but we're really waiting for that big picture to show up. I've got a photo from young Pablo Rodriguez II fishing with his dad with Slam Time Charters at a Marathon with this young angler releasing his nice sailfish.
So awesome to see kids fishing. Thank you so much for that, Randy. Hey, what else you got for us offshore?
You know, the yellowtail bite has been excellent. Everybody's been getting on them, and I really like to see that because sometimes only a few guys are catching them. But right now, if you anchor in 50 to 70 feet of water, you're going to find some yellowtails, and it really hasn't made a difference if you had current, no current. You got that blue water again. That blue, clean water up on the reef has really been ideal for these yellowtails to bite. And guys are catching them in Islamorada. They're catching them in Marathon. And, of course, Key West is always a hot spot for everything down there. They're catching some real nice yellowtails as well. You know, a lot of the yellowtail fishing is just patience. It's not rocket science. If you anchor your boat, get situated, put your chum bag in, start throwing your oats. Don't try to start fishing immediately with 3 or 4 rods. Just wait, go slow, let the chum start to work. You'll see file fish come up. You'll see blue runners come up. You'll see ballyhoos. You'll see that the chum is working, and then start fishing, drift your bait back. You don't want to use anything heavier than about 12-pound test line, and you want to drift it back and make it look like a piece of chum, and that's how you're going to get these yellowtails to bite. I've got a photo of young Patrick Dunn. His family comes every year and fishes with me, and last year his sister Lauren was on the show, and he wanted to be on the show this year, and I've got a photo of his yellowtail with a little note right there saying to you, Rick, you are awesome.
Oh, thank you, Randy. Hey, you got to hurry now on the inshore because we're running out of time, Bubba.
You know, the snook fishing's been great. Guys are getting them along the shorelines, along the beaches. The incoming tide has been the best. I can tell you, I was doing that a couple of days ago myself. We had a great day. We didn't catch any big fish, but we certainly caught a lot of numbers. And Captain Randy Stallings, I've got a picture. He's a guide out of the Lorelei in Islamorada. He spends a lot of time poling, and his angler, Bob Andrews, caught this nice snook.
Tell me about the redfish, Bub.
Plenty of reds. They invaded us in October. They're still here. If you find a couple along a shoreline or on a tree, stick it out, be patient, and wait. A lot of them are coming. There's plenty of redfish right now. The incoming tide has been good as well, and also the high water where you can get around some of these mangrove islands. And I've got a picture of Captain Brian Williams, the master back there with Serenity Charters, doing his thing.
Yeah, he is doing his thing. Thank you so much, Randy, from the Garmin, Florida Keys region. We're going to go and take a look at the hot spots. Randy says inshore, snook, fish the incoming tide from Flamingo to Cape Sable. Shrimp on a 1/4-ounce jig head is working best. And then offshore, yellowtails anchor in 50 to 70 feet of water. Moving tide is key. Chum heavily and be patient. Look for the yellowtails before you start fishing. Make sure you see them there, Brie.
Absolutely. Well, we can't leave the Keys until we check in with Andy Newman to see what featured tournament he's talking about this week. So, Andy, go for it.
Well, hi guys. It's great to be back for another Insider season featuring Florida Keys fishing tournaments. But this year will be a bit different than the past. Sometimes I'll provide information, other times we'll let folks in the studio give details. With that said, let's begin the season with a very popular Key West fishing tournament. Featuring more than 40 species, the free entry contest continues through August 31st. Many species are catch and release only. There's divisions for men, women, junior anglers, and even peewees. All participating anglers receive citations and qualify for a variety of awards. You can weigh fish or register witness releases at several tackle stores in the Lower Keys and Key West. More information at keywestfishingtournament.com. And for more details on tournaments throughout the Florida Keys, go to flakeys.com.
Yes,
Bree,
Rick, can I
how's
help
my
you?
little baby Mia?
Oh, baby Mia, she's so good. She's sick right now, but she's a happy, smiling baby,
She's a
and she's
baby.
walking already. Can you believe it?
Wow.
Wow, I know. All right, let's head on. You asked. I could go on forever about Mia.
Yeah, of course.
Let's head on into the Discover Crystal River Northwest region with Captain Jeff Hageman. Welcome back, Hag.
Good to be back. Well, we've got sailfish, but right now it's kind of a bycatch. Most of them are caught by kingfishermen, trolling or anchored up chumming for kings. In August is kind of when we get our little push of them, and they're almost targetable. You want to look for weed lines, slick calm days. You can actually find these fish spinning on top, like Randy was just talking about. We have that up here too, and you can actually sight cast to them. I'll get up in the tower, put the trolling motor down when we get close to one, and scoot over to them, and we can catch them that way. That's a fun way to do it, as long as you got some live bait handy. Also, when you're running spot to spot, just to keep an eye out for those sails. They'll actually have their fins out of the water. Look for birds, bait, flying fish, rudder fish, any kind of floating flotsam around. It's a good place to start looking for them. But what we do got right now is a good gag grouper bite, and it's been really good in the south half of my region, from anywhere from St. Pete to Crystal River. Looking at 65 to 95 feet of water is where they've been finding most of them, over rock piles and ledges. Pinfish and grass grunts have been the bait of choice on a standard bottom rig with a 100-pound fluorocarbon leader, 7 to 10-aught circle hook, depending on that size bait you're using, and 6 to 8 ounces of lead, depending on the current we've got. Moving inshore, Captain Jimbo Keith from Cedar Key reports the speckled trout bite has been just as hot as the weather right now, and he says the best bite has been late. The last part of the incoming tide, first part of the outgoing tide in the flats, 3 to 4 feet of water over grass flats. You want to find good current flow. That's been kind of a key. The water's still a little dirty from all the flood waters coming out of the Swanee in his area, and it seems not to hurt the bite. The best action right now is coming on B52 Super Sounder corks paired up with a saltwater assassin, sea shad tail, or green moon, or that stinky pinky color works also really well up there. Staying with the trout, Mike Bradley reports from Steinhatchley that the trout bite has been great in his part of our region. Right now the fish are spawning, so they're getting a little heavier. You might want to release a lot more of those bigger fish, and those 20-inch fish are now cut off in our region, so you have to release them anyway. So those heavy fish right now, kind of put them back, keep one of those 15-inchers, and let the big ones go. The warm and cold water changes right now have moved them around a little bit, but it's making the bite a little bit more aggressive in his area. He said a good go-to is always a shrimp under a cork, but for better action, try a twitch bait. Most colors are working well, but you want to change them up if you're in different water clarity. Suspension baits, floating baits, depending on your depth, you can change that up too. Sometimes you want to pause them, sometimes you want to move them a little faster, depending on the day and the coldness. And I've got some great photos of some West Coast trout from our captains.
Nice.
There's some good ones, aren't they?
Yes, sir. Hi, you heard any reports from JB?
Yes, I got Captain John Lane from JB Charters at Apalachicola right now. The bull redfish are running on the outside of the beaches right now. And he's using a Carolina rig with 1 to 2 ounces of lead, 30-pound fluorocarbon leader, about 10 inches long, with a 2-aught circle hook. He's using pieces of shrimp, or live shrimp, or fresh shrimp dead, tipped with fish bites. Moving a little bit further down the coast, Captain Jim Huddleston out of Ozona reports a great redfish bite, and he's fishing the potholes with mullet. He said if you're not finding the mullet, move until you find them, you'll find the redfish. He's using cut and live bait, and he said they've both been working really well. And I've got some great photos of some giant redfish caught in both those areas.
Nice.
Good to be back, guys.
Great.
All right, Hag, great report. Thank you so much. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the Anytime sunscreen and mosquito repellent hotspots inshore. Redfish from the middle to the top of the tide using cut pinfish, ladyfish for bait with a 4-0 circle hook, and then offshore, grunt, sea bass, hogfish on flat rocks off of Tarpon Springs in 45 to 55 feet of water. Use squid or pieces of shrimp on a chicken rig as bait, Bree.
Well, Rick, you know what I need in my life right now?
No.
A Panhandle region report, of course, and some new products from our CCA Workbench guru. You knew that, right?
Man.
Dave?
Yes.
That looks pretty.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
This is, you know, I love blue stuff.
I can tell.
But not as a drink. Never drink blue. Never drink
It
blue.
looks good enough to drink.
Enzyme diesel treatment's not to be drank.
Over ice, that
Blue
might
fuel.
treat you.
It'll
other
look
things.
nice. Don't drink it.
See you soon, guys.
See you later.
The Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Academy Sports and Outdoors, for all, for less. Soft Science, Supreme Comfort Footwear. Real Legends, exclusively at Bell's. Okuma, Inspired Fishing. Discover Crystal River, Florida. And Maverick Boat Group, makers of premium boat brands Maverick, Hughes, Pathfinder, and Cobia. Yamaha's 4.2-liter V6 offshore 4-strokes. For those that like their V6 lighter, faster, and stronger. Setting new standards for power, efficiency, speed, and lightweight. Built for the rigors of offshore boating. Packed with Yamaha's legendary reliability. And now Yamaha's 4.2-liter V6 4-strokes offer a choice between digital or mechanical controls to match your rigging preference. Yamaha. Reliability starts here.
How do you aim a 36-yard shot with a 30-yard fixed pin at a 15-degree angle with a 7-inch holdover without moving a single pin? Easy. You get one of these. Zero, the auto-ranging digital bow sight from Garmin.
Well, we're here at the CCA Workbench, and it's that time in the show where we talk about new products, Dave.
Yes, sir.
And as you know, at the Miami Boat Show, Contender introduced a new 44 center console. And
right.
What a serious boat. You know,
how come it's not in here? Where is it?
Well, it's a little hard to squeeze one in here, bub. But you know, the great part about this boat was specifically designed around the new 425 Yamahas. And you can either get it with triples, which runs 68 miles an hour, or you can get it with quads, which is pushing close to 80 miles an hour.
Light speed, if you want to hit light speed.
Yeah, man.
That thing's beautiful, man. It's made for fishing. It's got, you know, 2 55-gallon live wells in the transom. It's got 4 flush-mounted rod holders, 110-gallon fish box in the back, a 350 40-gallon fish box up front. You know, it's made to put fish away.
And the cool part is you got a head in the console for mama. You can take a shower in the console. It also comes with an optional floor well at 104 gallons.
Why not?
You know, I mean, so it's a true fishing machine, as you saw with the video there. A full gaff tower.
Yeah.
Gap tower.
Yeah, and that's very important. Because the higher you get, the more fish you're going to see. That's for sure.
Absolutely.
All right. Our next product here is the StarTron Diesel Enzyme Treatment. You know, this is a great product. It'll stabilize diesel up to 2 years. It reduces the soot and the carbon, the deposits, and you know, any emissions from the back end of the truck. It cleans the tanks, the injectors and the valves, and it removes water and the sludge and any other contaminants. It really works. And that little 16-ounce bottle treats 512 gallons of diesel fuel.
And you know what?
So.
It's really smart, obviously, for StarTron to come out with this because, as you know, we're going from one state to the next. The grades of diesel.
Yeah.
You know, you buy it at a truck stop, it might not necessarily be exactly what
correct.
you would get at a filling station, so to speak.
And diesel fuel is great for, you know, harboring little animules and stuff, enzymes and whatnot. All right, next we have some really cool kite clips from R&R Tackle. These are the M2 kite clips, and these are made, you know, to be fished on a kite line. And, you know, Ray worked really hard to make these clips. They sell them in sets of 3 or 4, in case you want to put 4 lines on a single kite. And what's really good about these is they work, he makes these little 9mm polished stainless steel rings, and they'll work with any ceramic ring like any kite clip. But what makes these really good is that they can actually follow the fish, whether he comes towards you or away from you, and it makes for a really stable and consistent, easy release. And when you're kite fishing, that means everything. You dang sure don't want the fish to pull a whole kite into the water and make a big mess like that. So go out and get those R&R Tackle M2.
You know, and if you're not familiar with R&R
kites
stuff, they make everything from sabikis to bait nets.
We'll have a lot of their stuff on here this year for sure. Next, we got the Anytime Natural sunscreen and mosquito lotion. They're a new sponsor as well. We're going to be talking about a lot of their products today. We're just going to talk about that 2-in-1 notion. It's called No Bite, No Burn, and it's a mosquito and no CM repellent, and it's good for SPF 30+. So I'm really looking forward to it. It has no parabens, no sulfates, no artificial dyes. It doesn't have DEET in it. It uses zinc oxide for the SPF factor.
Reef safe.
Reef safe,
Yep.
so it won't mess up the reef. And you know, I'm waiting to find out what we're going to do.
You won't believe for the no-CMs.
Real quick, we got some Limber Magic and Limber Blades from Redbone Bait Company in Paris, Florida. And what these are, it's a spinner bait where the upper arm, the blade arm, is flexible. And that's why it's called Limber Magic and the Limber Blade, because that top blade, when that fish comes and eats it, it crushes it right down and you get a great hookup. They also sell a trailing hook if you want. The Limber Magic is single blades for saltwater, 1/4 inch, 3/8 ounce, and you know, you can
put your favorite plastic on there.
Exactly,
Bass
whatever
Assassin.
you want.
I love big Bass Assassin and dye dappers when
Correct.
I'm fishing in Louisiana.
They're really good for redfish and trout, those saltwater ones.
Dave, welcome back. I didn't get enough of the Workbench tonight. We're gonna have to, you know, maybe we'll have to do this again this week.
We'll do it every.
Bree,
Come back tomorrow.
That anytime stuff, I have to say, I put it on me, I put it on my baby. It is awesome, and I'm very picky what I put on my skin, so it's good stuff, guys. You might want to try it out.
Obviously.
All right, we have your Getty Panhandle Region Captain on the line, and Pat Deneen is going to help you get something on your line, so listen up.
Hey, Bree, it's good to be back. Hey, the Panhandle is not known for sailfish, unlike the southeast part of Florida, but we do catch them throughout the region, particularly midsummer, early fall. Last season, there were quite a few sails caught in the August-September timeframe near shore, with several being caught from the pier, so that's not uncommon. They're primarily caught in the Panhandle by live baiters targeting kingfish or other species over bottom structure or around the bait schools, so it's kind of an incidental catch. But late August into September, anglers actually start to target the sailfish and also the white marlin near the 100-fathom line, with the nipple, the knuckle, the elbow being prime areas. What you want to do out there is keep an eye on your bottom machine and focus on the areas where you start marking bait in that mid to upper water column. And in the Panhandle, we're going to be trolling for sailfish. It's a dead bait fishery where you're covering some ground. Naked ballyhoo, skirted ballyhoo, dredges, and teasers are employed. And there's a photo of a sailfish we caught fishing off the out of here. We were double dredging, and this fish fell for the old naked swimming ballyhoo on the circle hook rig. So we do get them up here, but it's not like they do on the southeast coast.
That's a great pick, Pat.
Right on.
What else?
What we do have, Rick, I mean, the triggerfish, they're open right now. They're closed a lot of the year, but right now they are open. They're very good to eat, and there are numerous. They are tasty fish. What you're going to do is look for them on natural and artificial bottom in 60-plus feet of water. Some spots, they're so numerous, it's difficult to catch other species. Use a 2-hook chicken rig baited with chunk baits or cut squid, and triggers are notorious for stealing your bait. So make sure you get a good purchase on your bait with a hook. You know, go through that skin twice. Use 1/0 to 3/0 circle hooks. They fit well in the small mouths of a triggerfish, and they can run up to and over 8 pounds. But make sure you save the throats. Those throats are really meaty and delicious. And growing up, you know, triggers were trash fish, but not anymore. They're really tasty. Moving inshore, the redfish. Redfish along the beach remains really good for schools of fish being found from Mexico Beach to Pensacola. The majority of the fish are those big breeding stock fish, and some of the schools can be quite large, 50 to 100 plus fish. Find them between the first and second bars, with areas just east or west of the passes being pretty good. Some of these fish, especially in Pensacola, can be pretty pressured. There's a lot of people fishing for them, so approach them slowly with a trolling motor or drift into them. A free-line live bait is a slam dunk, a shrimp or a small minnow. But if you don't have live bait, use a jig head with a light-colored bass assassin tail. We got clear water and white bottom, so try to go with those lighter-colored baits. Cast to the edge of the school or ahead of the moving school. Casting into the school may get you a bite or two for the first time, but they're going to quickly figure it out. Most of these fish are the 29 to 36-inch range, so be nice to them. They're in the process of making more redfish, so release them in a healthy manner. There's a photo of Martin Manley from South Walton with an overslot redfish he caught casting a mid-water twitch bait to these schools of fish. And then finally, inshore, one of everybody's favorites, the pompanos. They're here, showing up in good numbers along all of the beaches. Usually you see them first in the eastern parts of the Yeti Panhandle region, and this year it's been no different. The numbers are in Panama City and eastward, but pompano are being caught all the way to and beyond the Alabama state line. They're traveling east to west in the gully between the first and second bars. The most productive way to fish for them is to set fish from the beach with multiple rods, using PVC rod holders or whatever in the sand. A 2-hook chicken rig baited with live sand fleas is the best bet, but a fresh shrimp will also work as a second choice if you can't get the fleas. But if you also just want to sight fish them from boats or from step ladders, set up that step ladder on that first bar, look for a spot where that outer bar pinches into the inner bar. It makes a pinch point for those traveling fish. Cast pink or chartreuse jigs, and springtime pompanos are running up to 5 pounds, but 1 to 3 pounds are more common.
All right, Pat, thank you so much. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the blue water outrigger hotspots from the Yeti Panhandle region. Inshore, Spanish mackerels along the beaches, in the passes, trolling straw rigs and spoons, and then offshore, triggerfish and vermilion snappers on natural and artificial bottom in 80 feet of water.
All right, when we return, we're taking you to the Central East and West regions, and we're checking in with our friend from Casa Vieja. So stay hooked, and remember to be informed on all things fishing in Florida. Make sure to visit our website, like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, watch us on YouTube, and check us out on Instagram. We'll be right back.
The Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Rapala, another great day. Startron, cures and prevents ethanol fuel problems. Yeti, built for the wild. CCA Florida, the voice of recreational anglers for over 30 years. And Strike Zone Fishing.
Hello, Harbor Truck fans. Lee Titchworth, Fleet and Commercial Manager here at Harbor Trucks, with Chris Freeland, owner of Harbor Trucks, and Fred Tuhn, owner of Howard's Pool World. Fred, why do you buy your trucks from us?
Well, it's the people, the product, and the processes. The 5-year, 100,000-mile warranty is just icing on the cake. I strongly suggest Harbor Trucks.
Harbor Trucks, the place to buy your next truck.
Oh, there it is. You can either stay busy fishing or get busy catching. From Texas to Tampa Bay or Key West to the Carolinas and beyond. For nearly 20 years, anglers everywhere have come to know one thing, that nothing says no to fish bites. Ask for Fish Bites and Fish Bites Fight Club lures by name or visit fishbites.com.
Find Florida's soul and discover Crystal River. Explore warm Gulf waters, spring-fed rivers, bountiful lakes, and fantastic fishing. Dive into adventure and enjoy the only place in the world where you can swim with the manatees. Treat yourself and your family to outdoor fun, rich history, and a relaxed coastal lifestyle. Discover Crystal River, Florida.
Well, welcome back, and as you can see, I have the beautiful owner of Casa Vieja Lodge, Kristen Salazar, with me. You know, first off, congratulations to you and David. I understand that you have another baby, number three coming. I'm so happy for you guys. That's so awesome.
Thank you.
You know, you are a serious angler. We fished together in some of the tournaments down there, the No Sancocho. We've just filmed the Sportsman's Adventure episode. And you know what? Ladies down in Casa Vieja is really happening. But, you know, when we first arrive in Guatemala, what should we expect?
Well, everything really. We pick you up at the airport. We take care of you from the moment you step off the plane to the moment you leave. What a lot of people do is also they upgrade and they take a helicopter down. So instead of the normal 90-minute drive down in the van, you take a helicopter like you did on your past trip, and you're down there in 30 minutes. Checking out Antigua, the volcano, all the mountains, and we pick you up and you arrive at Casa Vieja with fresh drinks waiting for you.
You know, Casa Vieja, obviously, talk about the size. How many people can we accommodate?
We have 19-bedroom hotel there, so we accommodate about 37 anglers at a time with space for additional. If we have larger groups, which we do host corporate groups that come down, we do retreats, we do product testing, even corporate incentive trips for them to come down and have a good time.
Now, you know, Guatemala is a very serious place to fish for billfish, probably the best billfish destination in the world. As you know, let's talk a little bit about the boats, the captains, the crews, as well as the sea conditions, Kristen.
Yeah, well, last year in 2018, we released just over 12,000 sailfish, and that's off of 10 boats during a 9-month season. And not all the boats are running every day, so we average about 12 to 15 sailfish raises per boat per day. It's just incredible numbers down there. So it's a great opportunity for you to learn how to fish, for you to perfect your skills, for women to come down, for kids to come down, because there's opportunities for them to miss the fish and try again and miss another one, and it's okay.
So, you know, it's always a challenge when you go to another country as far as the language. What about our crews?
All of our crews are bilingual. They've been down there at least 15, 20 years, some of them longer. This is what they do, this is what they know. Not all of them are going to be able to talk politics with you, but you know, that's a great thing. Right. But what they can do is tell you all about Guatemala and the incredible fishery we have down there.
So we talked about the corporate, but you know what? You guys are really lady friendly, and you know what? That's really important these days. But if the ladies don't want to go for all 3 or 4 or 5 day package, what would you suggest they do?
Yeah, we definitely tell them to go try out 1 day of fishing. The seas are flat, calm. There's, you know, we have 35 to 44 sport fishers. We have air-conditioned cabins, which really gets them nice on the boat. Fresh mahi sandwich when they catch the mahi. The next day they can hang out at the pool, get in-room spa services, a facial, massage. And for the last day, they can go up to Antigua, a World UNESCO Heritage Site, explore the cobblestone streets, the churches, the trinket shopping. I mean, really get tour and get the rich heritage that Guatemala has.
So I know there's going to be people watching that are going to have questions. Where can they find out more information?
CasaViejaLodge.com. We have an online chat on there. We have our daily fishing reports posted every day in social media, Facebook, Instagram. We're everywhere.
Congratulations again on the new baby.
Thank
you so much for coming in.
Thanks for having me.
All right, let's go.
I'm sold. I want to go again. All right, we're going to take a little look-see into our Bell's Central East region, where Captain Jim Ross has plan A, B, and C for your weekend bite. Ready for a great season, Jim?
Oh, we sure are, Brie, and I can't tell you, kicking it off with the sailfish is a good way to kick it off because we've got a bunch of them in my Bell's Central East region right now. Now, most of these fish have been grouped up outside of Ponce Inlet for the past couple of weeks, and they're anywhere from about 140 to 220-foot depths this week, but that will vary depending on the day. Sailfish, they continue to be one of the main species that we target because they're migrating through, not just on this early springtime run, but all the way into the May and June time frame. Most of the guys are trolling ballyhoo at 3 to 4 knots, keeping a little bit slower than you would for dolphin or wahoo or something like that. And they like to run big teasers with lots of baits on them, 50 baits sometimes rigged on one teaser. while they're pulling, and that really pulls the sailfish up and gets them fired up. Now, if you don't want to rig all that, you can always go out there with some live bait, put them on a circle hook, and you can obviously catch them that way as well. Now, one of the things you need to do is watch your rod tip very carefully, because a lot of times the sailfish will come up and hit the bait just to stun it or try and kill it, but they won't actually try to eat it on the initial strike. So drop back to that fish, throw it in a free spool, let it fall back. The fish thinks, okay, I've done my job, I'm going to go pick the bait up. He picks it up, you feel that increase in line speed, come back tight on the engage the reel, come back tight on the fish, and you should get a solid hookup. Now, most of our fish are running anywhere from about 30 to 50 pounds, and occasionally we get ones a little bit bigger in this part of the state. Now, our other species, forever we haven't had a decent cobia run, and finally this year we seem to be getting a decent spring cobia run here in the central part of the state. Now, the key to this is finding 68 to 72 degree water. Right now, off of the Bell Central East region, that's what we've got. 30 to 50 foot depths, even 60 foot depths. If you overlay that temperature and that depth with your XM Series equipped chart plotter, then you can find very easily where those cobia are most likely to show up. One of the other things that you can do when you're cobia fishing is a lot of the times they're following rays, and we've had a really, really good group of rays, or a crop of rays come through this year. Throw a Williamson Popper Pro at these fish, or a large Rapala Skitterwalk. Throw it out there, chug it a couple times, pull the cobia away from the manta ray, get his attention and pull him out of there, and then cast a live bait or a jig to him. This is an easy way to keep your bait from getting into the, or jig from getting into the manta ray, hooking them and basically ruining your cobia dinner because the manta ray took off with your jig and the cobia. Most of our cobia are running 20 to 30 pounds. We've had fish up into the 50-pound range weighed in at the local marinas here in Canaveral lately. We will have them at Ponce here anytime as well. Now, swinging inshore, first thing you got to do, we've had a lot of rain. You got to grab some Anytime Sunscreen Bug Block Combo. I tried this stuff. I'm telling you, it works really good, and it doesn't stink, and it's not greasy. So, fantastic product if you get a chance. It's called Anytime Sunscreen with the Bug Block in it. Now, going back to what's going on inshore, speckled trout right now, guys and gals. If you're not catching speckled trout, then you just simply haven't been on the water. From Sebastian all the way to Ponce Inlet, we got really good numbers of speckled trout. Captain Glenn Austin from GoingCoastalCharters.com has been getting some really nice-sized trout on the flats near Sebastian. He's been throwing the Rapala Twitch and Wrap Minnow in the size 10. That seems to be working really good first thing in the morning up around the mangroves and some of the docks. Now, if the trout move off the mangroves and go to the deeper edges during the midday periods, Captain Justin Ross recommends using Saltwater Assassin 4-inch Sea Shad. If you're using those in the turbid water, he says the Butt Naked, Pimp Daddy, and Magic Grass colors are your ticket. And if you find some cleaner water throughout the Indian River Lagoon right now, he has been whacking the fish, whacking the big trout on the gray ghost color. Our average trout is running 13 to 17 inches, and he's catching quite a few larger fish into that lower 20-inch range. So I'm real proud of him for going out there and doing a good job. Black drum is our last species. They've been on fire for the last couple of weeks. I mean, the bite couldn't get any better for black drum in the Indian River Lagoon right now. You can find schools roaming the flats from Port St. John to Scottsmore. You can also find them around almost any of the bridges and structures like Haulover Canal, the Clinker Islands, even out on the flats up on Tiger Shoal and down on the Whale's Tail. Great time to use a fly rod if you've had a chance to. 7 to 8 weight fly rods with a small black fly seems to be working really well. And, of course, you know, anytime you use a cut crab or a shrimp or a fish bite, you can definitely catch these fish on the flats as well. So I've got a photo here of the black drum that we've been catching. Lots of good-sized fish. Great time to get on the water. Looking forward to a great season this year. So you guys and gals out there, get out there and catch you one up.
Thank you so much, Jimmy. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the hot spots from the Central East region. Jimmy says offshore, cobia along the nearshore waters, sight cast jigs, or live menhaden to fish holding on the rays, bait pods, or just free swimming on the surface. And then black drum near the pylons and bridges use live shrimp or cut crab on a standard bottom rig for those guys.
All right, we're getting another captain on the FaceTime machine from the Startron Central West region, Captain Jeffrey Page. What is going on, man?
So you guys got me on FaceTime?
I got you on
Let's
FaceTime.
go. Let's
Come
hear your
on,
voice.
Paige.
All right, well, it's good to be back on the Florida Insider Fishing Report. Bree, Rick, Dave Ferrell, and the whole crew. Let's have an awesome 2019. And you know what? With the sailfish in our Startron Central West region, it's not like we catch them like they do on the East Coast, but we do have a sailfish bite, Rick. and it usually fires off around April, same time the tarpons start showing up, goes right through the summer. And what you're going to do is you're going to look for the fish in the big schools of thread fins, cutting through them, feeding on them, just like you would see a kingfish. You can cast out free line thread fins, free line big pilchards, or while you're bottom fishing for groupers, snappers, cobias, you can have a free line bait out, and it's not uncommon for guys in our region to hook a sailfish. I've got a photo tonight of Captain Randy Powell and one of his clients with a nice sail they caught last season off of Venice, Florida. Species 2, kingfish, Rick, with the water temperatures right around 70 to 72 degrees. The kingfish bite is really fired off with lots of kingfish throughout the entire region. I'm getting reports down in Boca Grande, all the way up to Johns Pass, which is just past Egmont Key, and they're in as close as a mile off the beach out to 11 miles. The key again is finding the big schools of bait that are holding over the hard bottom areas, and you're going to catch kingfish. You can anchor up and cast out free line baits. You can troll around the hard bottom area with your bottom machine on with lipped plugs or spoons like X-Wraps or number 1 or 2 kingfish spoons. You can put them on a planer if you'd like. Kingfish have been averaging 12 to 25 pounds with an occasional 35, 40-pound smoker mixed in. Photo tonight of Captain Brian Marcy of Breakwater Charters out of New Pass with happy clients and a big kingfish. Moving inshore, we got snook. You know what, Rick, with the water temperature getting up near 70, just like it is out in the Gulf, snook fishing has really turned on. Lots of fish, not only in the bays and estuaries around the grass flats and mangrove islands, but they're already starting to show up along the beaches and in the passes. Captain Danny Lathan's been doing real good on lots of fish over that 30-inch mark. Remember, they're still catch and release due to the red tide in our region. So handle the fish carefully, get them back in the water. He's been catching them on live pilchards as well as soft plastics. Captain Larry Maroney's been doing real well in the Palmasola Terracea Bay area around the oyster bars, high tides on live pilchards. If you like throwing artificials, it's tough to beat the Saltwater Assassin Violet Moon on a 1/4-ounce jig head in the 4-inch sea shad pattern. Got a photo tonight of our friend Captain Stacy Capps of Tight Lines with his daughter Kaylin and her best friend Langley with a big snook they got. Finally, speckled trout. You know I'm just a trout fisherman from Sarasota, Florida, and the trout fishing has been really consistent, better down in Charlotte Harbor around the deep grass flats off Bull and Turtle Bay, as well as the flats off Cayo Costa Island. A good tip, Rick, is to look for the small white terns, diving on the glass minnows and pilchards. Set up your drift according to your wind. You can throw free line baits or cork baits. If you like throwing lures, it's tough to beat the Saltwater Assassin Houdini pattern 4-inch sea shad on a 1/4-ounce jig head. I've got the one last photo tonight of a picture of my team from Saturday winning the round 1 of the Maverick Boat Yamaha Flats Master Series in Charlotte Harbor. Jerry Cleffy, he's changed the format, Rick, to all catch and release and photo. More information, go to his Facebook page, Flats Master Series, and check it out. Ingman Marine and Maverick are giving away an 18 redfisher to the winner of the Team of the Year.
All right, Paige, it's good to see you on FaceTime. We got to go. We're take a look at the congratulations, Daiquiri Deck Central West hotspots. He says inshore snook, good nighttime fishing on the docks and lights and the bridges from Stickney Point south to Venice jetties, and then live silver mullet or grunts are the best bait, and then offshore kingfish. Hot action throughout the entire region. Look for the kings holding over the hard bottom areas in 30 to 70 feet of water. Troll spoons, lip plugs, cast free line threads, or maybe a pilchard into the melee.
All right, guys, time's flying. We have one more region left, so stay tuned. We'll be right back.
The Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Harbor Trucks. Visit harbortrucks.com. Yamaha. Reliability starts here. Suffix. Always use the best line. The IGFA. Fish for the world. Sportsman's Adventures. Fishing for adventure. And Bells. Everything you need to live life local.
An entirely new species of extreme predator is moving offshore. The Yamaha 5.6-liter V8 XTO offshore outboard. Extreme big block thrust and power in the industry's first direct injection 4-stroke. Quiet, efficient, powerful, and proven Yamaha reliability. More than an outboard, it's a fully integrated power system. The all-new Yamaha V8 XTO offshore.
Life out here tastes sweeter with the freedom to roam at 40 miles per hour. The power to haul whatever needs hauling. And best-in-class acceleration and handling with cargo. The new gas-powered Kubota Sidekick is purpose-built for speed, fun, and to get the job done right. Now, get the new Kubota Sidekick for $0 down and payments as low as $196 a month.
Find a Kubota dealer near you at gokubota.com.
Remember the glory days of gasoline? It's just not made the same anymore.
Kick your gas into gear with StarTron. Pump up the performance in all of your engines. Cure the problems of ethanol with the power of enzymes. And maximize your mileage every time you drive. Kickstart your engines with StarTron.
Harbor Trucks has the largest selection of new and used car and truck inventory in Southwest Florida. Our used vehicle inventory goes through a 120-point inspection process performed by certified technicians. Exclusive to Florida Insider Fishing Report viewers is our Peace of Mind Harbor Truck Warranty. If you don't see what you're looking for, give us a call and we can get it for you. Go to harbortrucks.com and click on the Florida Insider Fishing Report tab.
Today's Power Pole tip of the week is about the dual power poles. Now guys, total boat control is everything when you're shallow water fishing. So how you set up on an oyster bar, or how you set up on a mangrove shoreline, a point, or even maybe fishing docks, or for you guys that love to bass fish, setting up on those beds and having the right angle to create the perfect presentation is a part of what duals do so well. And it's one of the reasons why I love these blades the way I do. Now it's real simple. All I gotta do is push the key fob 2 times and it deploys my poles like you see here. Once I get the angle that I like, I simply push the button twice and it finds the bottom. Now, when I'm ready to make a little move, maybe to the other side of the dock, I just push the button, they come up, I stop for a second, and then when I'm ready to deploy and I get where I want, I can simply push the button 2 times, and that's what makes the dual power poles and these blades my power poles of choice. So keep that in mind, and that's today's Power Pole Tip of the Week.
All right, guys, closing us out today is our Bell's Southwest Region Captain, Ronnie Houston. So, Ronnie, if you're ready, we're ready. Take it away.
Well, it's great to be back, Brie and Rick, and it's also great to be representing the Bell's Southwest Region. You know, the theme species is sailfish, and it's not common for something you do every day, but you can target them, and occasionally you can catch them. Now, in the last month, I've had reports throughout the whole region in depths of anywhere from 60 out to 200 feet, and it's generally on the move. Now, pleasant, calmer days does help, but I'm also being told when you're anchoring up on fishing for bottom species, simply put out a couple flat lines with either a thread fin or some sardines or a pilchard, and you might get lucky and catch them that way too. But also, as you're out there fishing and you're running, you start running across areas of bait, maybe some weed lines, floating debris. You want to toss out a couple of live baits, the baits I've mentioned, but also another good sign would be look for birds. If you see birds, put out a couple flat lines. Now, like I say, they're not common, but the reports I've had down to the south, Captain Mike Avenant has caught a couple here in the last 2 weeks. Also to the north, Captain Corey McGuire, he caught one in 70 feet, but I've got a picture of Captain Steve on the Misbehaving. He just caught one in the last week, and he was fishing at 105 feet of water. It's not common, guys, but it does happen. Now, on the offshore side, the red groupers. Captain Steve in the Misbehaving is telling me out of Naples that he is catching some quality fish into some shallower depths right now, as close to 70 feet and out to 110 feet. And he's simply fishing hard bottom, and he's telling me no piece of hard bottom is too small. Although he is fishing areas that he has fished over the years, he also is discovering new areas the more he gets out. He's telling me the more time you put in, the more successful you're going to be on catching the red groupers. Once you find them, Don't overfish what you find. Always hitting the same spot time and over again. You will wear it out. He's telling me the baits of choice have been cut squid, herring, sardines, live sardines, and he's been catching quality fish. And a prime example is some fish that were just caught on the Misbehaving with Captain Steve out of Naples. Now, before we get into the inshore side, I want to give a big thanks out to CCA and everybody affiliated with CCA in the last few months for the restocking programs that you've been taking care of by putting in the redfish in the last few months. Thank you, CCA. Now, on the inshore side, we're going to go to Snook to the north. Captain Danny Latham up in Charlotte Harbor tells me, even with the recent cold spell, most of the harbor is holding good numbers and some big fish. He's telling me focus on deeper shorelines, creeks and canals in between these fronts. He's telling me the prime bait has been live sardines. They've been working the best. But also down to the south, the Everglades backcountry is abundant with all sizes. There are a lot of smaller fish, which is a good sign, with a variety of slot-sized fish. What you want to do back there is fish windblown points, as well as shorelines, and a variety of feeder creeks, all with moving water. Most of the baits in the Everglades backcountry has been artificials, poppers, prop baits, subsurface plugs, anywhere from 6 inches to 3 feet, as well as the bass assassin sea shad in white, Houdini, Copperfield. The average size of the fish is anywhere from 20 to 30 inches, and I got a nice fish that was just caught in the northern end of the region while fishing with Captain Danny Latham. The last species is going to be trout, Lossman's River to Clam Key, fishing areas of grass that you can see with the clean water in depths of 1 to 3 feet, using live shrimp with a popping cork or the bass assassin oval quick cork with root beer shrimp, as well as Papa Smurf shrimp. Now, a little further to the north, the structure is going to change on the outer shorelines from Indian Key to Coon Key. It's more of a harder bottom. You can still use the same method that we're talking about to the south, but try a root beer colored bass assassin sea shad on a 1/4 ounce jig head for some fish up to 28 inches. And I suggest Rapala skitterwalks in black and silver, red and white chartreuse, or a good one, the Rapala twitch and mullet with the inline hooks in mossback shiner, albino shallow and pilchard. And I got a nice picture of another trout caught up in the northern end while fishing with Captain Danny Latham. Great to be back. Looking forward to a wonderful season.
Thank you so much, Ronnie. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the Caddy Can hotspots from the southwest region. Ronnie says inshore, Tarpon, Indian Key to Big Marco Pass, fishing the passes and beaches using live mullet, herring, pilchards, pinfish, and 4 to 6 inch swim baits. And then offshore, yellowtails and mangrove snappers, wrecks, ledges, and hard live bottoms in 40 to 60 feet of water. Naples to Fort Myers Beach, chumming, flatlining, and maybe even chicken rigging.
Chicken rigging sounds good to me. All right, the reports have been signed, sealed, and delivered, so make sure to stick around for just a little bit longer to see what we're fishing for next week here on the Florida Insider Fishing Report.
Hello, Harbor Truck fans. Lee Titchworth, Fleet and Commercial Manager here at Harbor Trucks with Chris Freeland, owner of Harbor Trucks, and Fred Tuhn, owner of Howard's Pool World. Fred, why do you buy your trucks from us?
Well, it's the people, the product, and the processes. The 5-year, 100,000-mile warranty is just icing on the cake. I strongly suggest Harbor Trucks.
Harbor Trucks, the place to buy your next truck.
Master your most challenging offshore experience with confidence and ease with Yamaha Helmmaster. Precise, intuitive control on the open seas. Unrivaled ease for maneuvering and docking in port. And now SetPoint adds 3 new dimensions to boat control. Maintain boat position with fish point, or a position and heading with stay point, or a heading while you drift with drift point. Yamaha Helmmaster, now with SetPoint. Complete digital control for today's larger offshore boats.
For the bass that thinks it's a bulldog. For the walleye that thinks it's a freight train. For the tuna that thinks it's a torpedo. For the tarpon that thinks it's a tarpon. You need the mono that thinks it's a braid. Suffix Advance. New Advanced Mono with HMPE braid molecules for strength, abrasion resistance, and low stretch. Suffix Advance. The mono that thinks it's a braid.
right, guys, make sure to tune in next week because we are talking cobia. And listen,
well, I like cobias.
I do too. From the looks of all those pictures, like cobia are just.
They're catching a lot where we're living up where East Central Florida.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Well, talking about catching,
Pretty
guys,
good.
this is our first show back. You guys have done some pretty cool things in the off season. You were in Colombia.
I was in Colombia. I went to Australia.
You've been
Colombia fishing sailfish, marlin. What was it?
Sailfish, big sailfish. Caught a bunch.
Honing your skills.
Honing my skills.
Mm-hmm.
And then we
helping
went,
some other fellas hone their
Adventures,
skills.
We went to Grenada, caught a 70-pound wahoo and a 90-pound yellowfin.
That's one of the most beautiful islands I've ever been to.
Well, I can't wait to
Grenada.
talk about those species later in the season. Thanks for being with us, guys.
Cobia.
We'll see you next week. Thanks for tuning in. Bye.
Cobia.